and a very warm welcome to everyone listening. You are tuned in to the English Learning Podcast. I am your host, Leo.
And I am Emma. It is great to be here with you today.
How are you doing today, Emma? We haven't spoken since last Friday. How was your weekend?
I am doing very well, thank you, Leo. My weekend was quite relaxing. I actually spent most of Sunday sitting in a cafe, drinking tea, and reading a very thick novel. It was perfect. How about you?
That sounds nice, but a little too quiet for me. My weekend was busy. I went to the cinema on Saturday night with some friends to see the new action movie that just came out. It was incredibly loud and exciting.
Ah, I see. This is actually a perfect introduction to our topic for today.
Exactly. Today, we are discussing the ultimate battle of entertainment. We are asking the question, which is better, the book or the movie?
This is a classic debate. There are two types of people in the world, the people who say the book was better and the people who say, I'll just watch the movie.
I think our listeners can guess which side I'm on. I love movies. They're fast, they're social, and they're visually amazing.
And I am definitely on the side of books. For me, reading is a deeper, more personal experience. But Leo, let's start with the basics. Why do you think movies are better?
Well, the first reason is time. Modern life is very busy. We have jobs, we have families, we have to study English. A movie is usually 2 hours long. I can finish a whole story in one evening.
That is true.
But a book can take 15 or 20 hours to read. If the book is boring in the middle, I might stop reading. But with a movie, I can easily sit through it until the end.
I understand your point about time. However, I think the time commitment is actually a positive thing. When you spend 2 weeks reading a book, you live with the characters. You wake up thinking about them. You worry about them.
That sounds a bit stressful, actually.
No, it is wonderful. You build a relationship with the story. In a movie, everything happens so fast that you don't have time to really care about the people. You see them cry, but you don't feel their pain as deeply as you do in a book.
I disagree. Think about the acting. A great actor can make you cry in 5 minutes. When you see a real human face showing emotion, it connects with you immediately. In a book, you're just looking at black ink on white paper.
But that is where the magic happens, Leo. That ink turns into pictures in your mind. When I read, I am the director. I choose what the hero looks like. I choose the sound of their voice.
So you prefer your own imagination over a professional director.
Yes, often I do. Because when I see the movie adaptation later, I am often disappointed. I look at the actor and think, that is not how he looks in my head.
I've heard people say that. It ruins the image they created.
Exactly. Also, movies have to cut so much content. A script for a movie is usually about 120 pages, but a novel can be 500 pages.
So you're saying the movie is just a summary of the book.
In many ways, yes. They cut out the small conversations, the history, and the internal thoughts. They only keep the big action scenes.
But sometimes those internal thoughts are boring. Movies fix the pacing. They remove the slow parts and keep the exciting parts.
I suppose it depends on what you consider boring. I like the details.
Let's talk about some specific examples. This will help our listeners understand. What is a famous book-to-movie adaptation that everyone knows?
Well, Harry Potter is probably the most famous one.
Great example. I think the Harry Potter movies are excellent. They created a magical world that looks exactly how I imagined it. The music, the costumes, the special effects, it was a masterpiece.
I admit, the Harry Potter movies were very good. They stayed very close to the story. However, did you know they left out entire characters?
Really?
Yes, there's a character named Peeves. He's a ghost in the school. He is very funny and appears in all the books, but he is not in the movies at all.
I didn't know that. But did the story suffer without him?
Maybe not the main story, but the atmosphere was different. The books felt like a real school year with day-to-day life. The movies felt like a series of action events.
I see. What about The Hunger Games? That was huge a few years ago.
That's an interesting one. In the Hunger Games book, the story is told in the first person. I did this, I felt this. It's all inside the main character's head.
Right. Katniss.
Yes, but in the movie, we are watching her from the outside. So in the book, we know she is terrified and confused. In the movie, she just looks strong and silent. It changes her personality a little bit.
That is a very subtle difference. But I think for an English learner, the visual context of the movie helps a lot. If she looks scared, we know the word terrified.
This leads us to a very important section of our podcast today. We should talk about this from the perspective of our listeners.
Yes, if you are learning English, which is better, reading the book or watching the movie?
This is a difficult question because they practice different skills.
I always tell my students to watch movies. It's the best way to hear natural, modern English. You hear slang, you hear how people really speak to each other. Textbooks are often too formal.
I agree that listening is vital, but movies can be very difficult for a B1 learner. The actors speak very fast, there is background noise like explosions or traffic. It can be frustrating.
That is why we have subtitles, Emma.
Subtitles are great, yes, but if you rely on them too much, you're just reading, not listening.
True, but let's look at books. Reading a book in a second language can be exhausting. If there are 5 new words on every page, you spend more time with the dictionary than with the story.
That is true. That is why you have to choose the right level. B1 learners should not try to read Shakespeare. They should read graded readers or modern thrillers.
Or maybe books they've already read in their own language.
That is a fantastic tip. If you already know the plot of Harry Potter in Spanish or French, reading it in English is much easier. You don't get lost in the story, so you can focus on the vocabulary.
So books are better for vocabulary expansion.
Definitely. When you read, you see how words are spelled. You see the grammar structures clearly. You can reread a sentence 5 times if you don't understand it. You can't rewind a movie in a cinema.
That is true. So books for vocabulary and grammar, movies for listening and pronunciation.
It seems like a tie.
I have a suggestion. What about the sandwich method?
What is the sandwich method? I'm getting hungry.
It's not about food. The method is, first, watch the movie. This gives you the visual context and the main story. Second, read the book. Now you understand the details and the difficult words. Third, watch the movie again.
That is a lot of work, Leo. That is not a sandwich. That's a 3-course meal.
But imagine how good your English would be after that.
It would be excellent, that is true. Actually, there's another option we haven't mentioned, audiobooks.
Ah, yes, the middle ground.
Audiobooks are becoming very popular. I think they are fantastic for learners. You get the complex vocabulary of a book, but you get the pronunciation of a native speaker.
And the best part is the narrator usually speaks clearly. In movies, actors mumble. In audiobooks, the actor wants you to hear every word.
Exactly. It's like a very long, very entertaining listening exam.
I have a question for you, Emma. Is there any movie that you admit was better than the book?
Oh, that's a hard question. Usually I say no, but maybe Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park? Really?
Yes, the book is good, but it is very technical. There's a lot of science and computer talk. The movie took the best parts, the dinosaurs chasing people, and made it thrilling. The T-Rex roar is iconic. You can't get that from a page.
I am so happy to hear you say that. Finally, a point for Team Movie.
Just 1 point. What about you? Is there a book you prefer over the movie?
Actually, yes, Percy Jackson.
Oh, the movies were not good.
They were terrible. They changed the age of the characters, they changed the plot. It was a disaster. The books are funny and clever. The movies were just boring.
So we agree. Sometimes Hollywood makes mistakes.
Definitely. Before we finish, I want to ask you about the social aspect again. You said movies are social, but can't books be social?
How? You sit alone in silence.
What about book clubs? I'm in a book club. We meet once a month, we drink coffee, eat cake, and argue about the book we read. It's very social.
That does sound fun, mostly because of the cake. But you have to do the work alone first. With a movie, the social part happens during the experience. We laugh together, we scream together.
That is true. It's a shared emotion. And afterwards, we can go for dinner and quote lines from the movie.
I'll be back.
Exactly. May the force be with you. Movie quotes are a big part of English culture. If you don't watch famous movies, you might miss jokes in conversation.
That is a very good point for our listeners. Pop culture references are important. If someone calls you a muggle, you need to know what that means.
For those listening who don't know, a muggle is a non-magical person in Harry Potter.
See, you learned something today.